Welcome back, eSIM Studio. So there's a new report, a new shocking report, may I add, coming out of China. Now, this is from a reputable parts supplier of Apple, and they are saying that the batteries that are going to be in the upcoming iPhone 17 Air are going to be small. Now, when I say small, I mean really small. Now, we thought the battery in the S25 Edge was small, right? I considered getting that phone. I was like, I don't know if I can do a 3,900 milliamp hour battery. Seems pretty freaking small. When I saw this report, my jaw hit the floor. The new iPhone 17 Air is going to have a 2,800 milliamp per hour battery. 2,800. 2800. How on earth is Apple, is any of these companies expecting users to use a phone with a 2,800 milliamp per hour battery? Why are we making these small phones? Who are these small phones for, right? Because initially, hey, that sounds pretty cool. And in fact, when you take a look at these things, wow, these look pretty cool. But that's about it. That's about as far as it goes. It looks cool. It feels good in your hand. Pause. Like, who's going to use this? Now, I reported maybe a week or two ago that the new iPhone 17 Air was going to come with a battery pack. Now, this battery pack that they're coming is going to, I think it's going to be I think it's going to be attached to a case, or I'm not exactly sure, but another parts supplier for Apple leaked out a battery pack for the iPhone 17 Air specifically. I believe it's connected to a case that you slap on your phone, and hey, it gives you an extra, I don't know, whatever, 5,000 milliamp per hour battery. So now you'll have a 7,800 milliamp per hour battery. But that defeats the whole purpose of having a slim phone, right? Like, if you're gonna get this super thin phone, but then you gotta use a big, bulky, heavy battery pack to attach to it and use it, defeats the whole purpose of having a small, thin phone, right? So another internal test that we shed some light on last week was that inside internal testing from Apple, because like when they make new phones, they'll have prototypes and they hand them out in the boardrooms and to people within the company, and they'll test it out and all that stuff. Well, the iPhone 17 Air prototypes, the ones that will be released, these are the same phones, same specs and everything in them. Only 60%, 60% of the testers, of the users internally, were able to make it on a full charge throughout the day. Meaning, you wake up in the morning at 8 a.m. for your day, your phone is plugged in, and by the time, I guess technically a full day would be like when you go to sleep at the end of the night, or when you lay your head down on the pillow, or basically sometime in the evening. Like, I guess we don't have a technical definition for a full day battery, but in my head, in my own terms, a full days of use is you wake up in the morning, you unplug it, and basically right around the time you wind down for the night, whether right around you eat dinner or you shower before you get in bed or whatever. That's kind of like my full day use. Some people I've heard say, well, full day use is you go to work, and when you come home after work, that's your full day, meaning you can plug it in, right? Like at 5:30, 6 o'clock, whatever. That's up to you. But however Apple was testing this, only 6 out of 10 testers were able to make it on a full day's, on a full battery, on a full charge. 60. Now, if you're wondering, well, what's the average? Like, what is the average what does that compare to? Well, 90% of, let's just say for the 16, was it the Pro or the Pro Max internal testing, 90%, 9 out of 10 people were able to make it on a full day on one full charge. So you're seeing a decrease of 30%. So 3 out of those 10 people, and now, and who's to say we don't know the final numbers, right? Because we don't know what these people are ending the day on. Like, is it at 2% or is it at like 22%? We don't know. But all we know is that for only 6 people were able to make it throughout the day without the phone dying. Now, that's without that battery pack, that external battery pack. And so, some other information before we end this is that we did get thickness. Now, it does not appear to be as thick as first reported. It appears the thickness is going to be 5.5 millimeters. Well, in early leaks and early rumors, the iPhone 17 Air was going to be basically, I think, what was it? I think it was reported to be just around 5 millimeters. And the iPhone 17 Air, the one we're getting, is 5.5. Now, the S25 Edge is 5.8, right? So it's a little thinner than the S25 Edge. And the iPhone 17 Air is considerably lighter than the S25 Edge. The S25 Edge is a pretty light phone, right? I think it weighs in at like 168 grams. Well, the iPhone 17 Air weighs like 148 or something like that. I'll put the graphic up for you. But 2800 milliamp hour battery. I don't know where we're going with these thin phones. Now, there was a report saying that this new iPhone 17 Air, that all iPhone 17 models were going to use a new battery technology, that Apple was going to introduce silicon carbon battery tech to the full iPhone 17 lineup, including the Air. Now, there's not a guarantee that that's going to happen. Now, you see Samsung coming out with their new battery tech for the S26 series, and it's technically not silicon carbon battery. It's a weird freaking name called Suscan. Look, exactly. I don't know why they named it that or how it got its name, but it's apparently something like silicon carbon, where it can basically hold, it's more dense, right, than a typical lithium ion battery, meaning it can hold more of a charge. Now, if Apple comes out with something similar to silicon carbon, or silicon, in fact, it's silicon carbon battery, something of the sort. So let's say, okay, that 2800 milliamp per hour battery, a typical lithium ion battery, would be 2800. Now, it's rated at 2800, but we don't know if that's a lithium ion 2800 or we don't know if that's a silicon carbon 2800. However you want to slice it, it's freaking small. Now, if you had a 2800 milliamp per hour battery, silicon carbon 2800 milliamp per hour battery, and you compared that, what would that be in lithium ion? Probably you get about 15 to 20% more. So that would mean it would be the equivalent of like a 3000 or 3200 milliamp per hour battery. And that's with the new battery tech. And that's still freaking small. But 2800 milliamp per hour battery. Geez, where are we going with these thin phones? I just don't. Look, at first, I wanted to get this Air, iPhone 17 Air. If you asked me 6 months ago, are you getting the iPhone 17 Air? I would say, hell yeah. And then if you ask me, are you going to get the S25 Edge? Hell yeah. Now I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do that, because I'm not going to lie to you. Battery life is way, way up on my list of things that I want and or need as a requirement on my quote-unquote perfect smartphone. There is no perfect smartphone. We all know that, right? Even if you think of your absolute favorite phone. Go ahead, I'll give you a second. What's your favorite phone of all time? I guarantee you there's one or two things you said, damn, if they just did this, it would make it badass. Or if they just did that or added this, it would be badass, right? I can think of a number of things. I'm not going to get into it, but what I'm saying is they got to figure something out with these slim phones, because yes, they are badass and they look visually appealing. But I was doing some research the past couple of days. I've been viewing a bunch of YouTube videos on the S25 Edge, and I continually, it seemed like it was the same person, multiple people on every single video. Everybody in there was saying, we don't want this bullshit. Like, what are you doing, Samsung? We don't want a phone with a small battery. And I saw something like that comment on tons of them, on every single video I watched. So I was thinking, damn, more people are uptight about this small battery thing than even I am, right? Because I'll give way, right, to a little battery, a little less battery, shall I say? But this is getting insane. This is crazy. I don't think many people are going to buy these. I just don't, because I for sure wanted the S25 Edge. Now I'm like, I don't, and I work from home. Like, I have an office in my house. Like, I'm not out on the road all the time. I'm not, I don't work outside of the house. So it's not like, I guess I'm the perfect person, because I was like, well, what does it matter to you? You can just, plug it in all day, which is true. I could, but why do you want it connected to a charger all day? Or that's the other thing. The charging speeds are so freaking slow. It'd be one thing if it was a small battery, but you had like Samsung fast 45 watt charging, whatever, 0 to 100 in, I don't know, let's say 45 minutes. Of course, that's asking too much of Samsung. That's too fast a charging speeds. The charging speed is at 25 watts. 25 watts. So you're basically telling me it's going to take an hour and a half to charge this thing from 0 to 100. Basically. It's hard for me to believe that we're in 2025 and we're still dealing with, these companies are still giving us this BS. Like, we're sending freaking spaceships to Mars, and we're still battling over here with companies like Apple and Samsung are still putting out phones that can't even make it throughout the day on a full charge. Like, I don't know. Like, it's just, it's embarrassing, man. It's really embarrassing. I just can't believe we're, here and doing this. I don't think they're going to sell many of these, honestly. Like, of course they're going to sell some, but they already have plans of Apple and Samsung of kicking out their Plus model, which I don't know if that's a good idea right now, because looking at that idea 6 months ago, where I didn't really think, I knew the batteries were going to be smaller in these phones, because it's just a simple fact. They're thinner, right? So you can't put a normal size battery in there. But I didn't think it was going to be this thin, or this small, right? The Apple and Samsung already have plans. Samsung's the S26 Edge next year is going to replace the S26 Plus model. The Plus model is probably the best phone in the whole Galaxy lineup this year. Apple getting rid of the Plus variant next year. iPhone, next year, Apple's getting rid of the Plus, and you're going to have the iPhone 18 Air Or I guess 7 this year they're going to do that. So it's like, that was a decent phone, good battery life. Now, before we get out of here, I will mention that Apple is implementing in iOS 19. There's a all new battery optimization, AI battery optimization that's supposed to help your battery life. Now, there's only so much you can do with a 2800 milliamp per hour battery. There's only so much you can do. So, I don't know how much that's going to save people battery life. I don't know. When I get more information on what that entails, like, are they going to put apps to sleep in the background? Are they going to turn your mobile network off or down, or switch it to a different channel or a different network that requires less power than if you're on a Wi-Fi network? I don't know. I assume it's going to do everything we can think of and some to try and conserve battery life, but there's only so much you can do when it's a teeny tiny battery. So I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments below. I think I already know what people think. I think the general consensus here is basically all the same, right? I think my opinion basically resonates with with the general public, quite honestly. Sorry, I'm meeting somebody to buy a phone, and I keep on looking around because my head's always on a swivel. But so anyways, I'll get out of here on that. But I just wanted to mention the just laughable size of this new battery in the iPhone 17 Air, 2800 milliamp per hour battery. Oh boy, what are we gonna do with this? I have no idea. Where we go from here, nobody knows. Knowing Apple and Samsung is going to be the same old story next year. Next year, they got to do something, because I think they're going to get a hard dose of reality in sales here this next fiscal year, right? Whenever they release these new devices in a year from now, from whenever they release them, because I don't think the sales are that good. Samsung is only making a limited quantity of these edges because they really don't know how this is going to go. And after seeing how small this battery is, and that's the first thing everybody mentions when they review the devices, like, oh, it's a small battery. But the iPhone 17 Air battery makes the Samsung battery look like a giant. So wait till you and here's the thing. A lot of these YouTubers kiss the ass of Apple and some of these manufacturers. And I guarantee you, in some of these reviews, they're going to they'll barely mention the battery size, or there will be very, very limited talk of the small battery, because God forbid somebody says something negative about Apple, right? I never understood that, but I just call it like it is. So I'm going to get out of here on that, but do appreciate the time. And stay tuned, eSIM Studios. We got a lot more coming. Peace.